So on every multiple day event I've ever done, quitting has occurred, and then when you unquit. Last night I quit, and it was for all the wrong reasons. I got in right at 7. It was a 16-mile day with about a mile of climbing of ascent, and went to cook my dinner, and I rubbed someone the wrong way. I don't think it was me. I just think it was an event ready to be triggered, and it triggered, and he popped off, and it upset me pretty bad. And I got to thinking in my tent. I ate my dinner and immediately went to bed. Didn't even do any editing or anything, and didn't even recharge my phone. I was so, I wouldn't say depressed, just out of it. And I thought about quitting in Irwin um, for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm not really fond of this crowding. I came out here to pretty much be alone, and every shelter I've been at, it's 20 to 30 people crammed in, and you can't get in the shelter, you can't get in to cook, so you end up cooking. So I've talked myself out of quitting. Like, I'm pretty good at that, actually. And I'm going to spend more time alone, I think. Not go to the shelters, but stop short of the shelters or go beyond them just a bit and camp on my own. It's just with this number of people are getting in, they're tired, and they're emotionally stressed, and if you just say hi to them, they pop. So I'm going to get away from that and see how it goes. If I'm going to quit, it's going to be for the right reasons, not because someone irritated me. I don't think there's anything to do with me. It was just he was ready to be triggered, and I happened to trigger it. So whatever. I'm still in the game, so I unquit. So somebody left a case of 24 Aquafina water bottles with water in them down at the bottom of this climb, which is ironic since the entire climb is along this stream here. I don't know why you'd want to carry an extra bottle of water given you get all this, but it is pretty. So you guys are just going to stealth camp tonight then?
Yeah.
And then going to Johnny's tomorrow?
Yeah, we're going to try to get close enough that we can get up early and catch that 9 o'clock shuttle that he's got to run into town and get a hot breakfast.
Ooh, pancakes, syrup,
Yeah.
sausage, eggs. A big boy breakfast.
I had the biggest country fried steak I've ever seen in my life
Oh, man, where'd you get that?
at that Smoky Mountain Diner. And
Oh, man, I looked for that on the menu. I didn't see it.
oh man, it was a huge dinner plate, and the thing covered the entire plate.
Yeah, that's what I need, gravy. The body needs gravy
Yeah,
in mass quantities. Can I
It
take an IV?
came with biscuits and gravy too.
Yeah, that diner was pretty nice. I mean, its prices were really reasonable.
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all.
Well, I've gone 6 miles. I'm at Spivey Gap. I got another 11 mile or 12 miles to go. I'm heading into Irwin. Tomorrow's supposed to be a really nasty day, so I'm going to take a 0 day and stay at a motel tonight and tomorrow. So, like I said yesterday, it rained for all but about 45 minutes yesterday. I mean a steady rain, cold rain with wind. It chilled you to the bone. It was not much fun. And weather like that, you have a hard time eating and drinking because you don't want to stop because you'll get cold. So I was calorically challenged and a little bit dehydrated, I think, when I got in, which is ironic. So thinking back to yesterday, it was a very, very, very difficult day. I don't know how those folks made it on to the additional 6 miles because it got worse. But I'm going to make that day what I call a glory day. A long list of events that I've had in my life that are in the category, damn, did that really happen? And glory days is obviously a reference to Bruce Springsteen. And the one glory day that's number one on my list, and probably the glory day that I'll go out of this world with, as my final thought, happened in the Race Across America 2003. Again, we were a two-man relay team, Mr. Goodwin and myself, and Mr. Goodwin had built up a lead he got the first pull, and then I got on at Lone Pine Valley or somewhere like that, and I got out of the air-conditioned van. It was 110 degrees, and I got on the bike, and there was an immediate climb onto the interstate ramp, and I was hyperventilating. I did recover from the shock of the instant heat, and then I started down the freeway, a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, and I passed two trucks doing 65. I was doing 65. The trucks were doing the legal 55. But I thought I was doing pretty good. Russ had got the lead, and I was maintaining it. And then I look on my left, and the second place team, one of the two Ironman guys, he was so low on the bike he could lick the tire on the front, and he passed me. He must have been doing well over 70. It pissed me off, and I stayed with him the rest of the way into El Centro, California, right on his tail, but I couldn't catch him. I couldn't pass him. So I was pissed off because I'd given up Russ's lead, although it was only like 5 minutes. Anyways, my second pull, I was really still pissed off. And endorphins and adrenaline was just pumping to me so bad. The original plan was I was a designated night rider. I trained for that. All my training miles, most of them anyway, 80% I'd say, were at night. So I learned how to be a really good night rider. And it proved a benefit that first night, because the plan was I was supposed to go 80 miles, and Russ was supposed to go to a motel in Blythe, California, and spend the night, get a good night's rest for the mountains near Prescott. And I ended up doing 135 miles in the time it took for him to get out of the hotel. And I averaged like 26 miles an hour over the course of that time. And that's definitely the most prolonged, fastest I've ever ridden. But the thing that sticks out in the glory moment was my son was driving the van most of the night, and I always liked my son, our son I should say, as my pace security van, because who's going to hit their father, right? And he was good. He could drive that van 12 inches behind my rear wheel and keep it right there. And I just felt really secure with him. But anyways, we're going through the Imperial Sand Dunes, and I'm doing 26 miles an hour easy, and it's 105 degrees outside. But I trained for this. And my son comes alongside in the van. He motions me over to the left so he can come on side and stick his head out the window. And he yells at me, "Glory days!" And I immediately knew what he meant. And that's the greatest thing my son's ever done for me. And I'm going to die with that thought, of that memory of him sticking his head out the window and saying glory days. By the way, I built up a 3-hour lead on the second place team during that night. I think one of them ended up going to the hospital with dehydration. He didn't hydrate well in the desert. We outsmarted these guys. They were 2 30-year-old Ironman guys sponsored by the Army. But you know, I'd planned it well. I trained again at night, so I was a night rider, and I was the descender because Mr. Goodwin, he lost a kidney in a ski accident, and so he only had one kidney, and he couldn't descend. He was scared of descending, so I got all the descents. So he'd climb up to the top of, like in Jerome, Arizona, and I'd speed down at 70 mile an hour on the switchbacks because I didn't give a care. I didn't care. I love to go fast, even on switchbacks. So that worked out well. Anyways, glory days. That's what yesterday was. A glory day and a long list of glory days. I hope you have some. Johnny's Hostel, an icon. 40-cent Snickers and another bear. Pretty cool. If I may just quote one of my favorite vloggers, Andrew Life Live. If you haven't had a chance to see his Appalachian Trails adventure, it's worth a watch. Andrew Life Live. But if I may quote him today, not today.